It started with MILF and went downhill from there.
Welcome to the Skiffy and Fandy Show Torture Cinema Holiday Special!
On the second day of Christmas, the listeners gave to me an aggressively heteronormative portrait of the white suburban nuclear family.
That is accurate. That is quite accurate,
And
Alex.
well sung.
Yes, very well sung. I congratulate you on your...
Very well sung.
Amazing.
It scans perfectly.
I mean, the thing that really gets me is how you manage to get that many syllables in rhythm into the song.
Like, it still fit.
Yeah.
It's indistinguishable from the original.
I mean, all we need is a beat on that, and that's the new hit. Anyway, I'm Sean.
I'm Alex.
I'm Becca.
And on today's show, we will be talking about a film that you all picked on the Patreon. A film called The Family Man, directed by Brett Ratner, written by David Diamond and David Weissman, and starring Nicolas Cage, Téa Leoni, Don Cheadle, Jeremy Piven, and some other folks that are also in this.
But before we get to what we're drinking, our summary, and our painful review of the film, a friendly reminder that we want to hear from you. Share your comments with us about this and past episodes at skiffyandfanty.com/listener-suggestions. We want to put together a listener mailbag episode with your thoughts, questions, topic suggestions, and more, so get those thoughts in. Try to have some thoughts first, and then send them to us. I believe in you.
Thoughts required.
And on that note, what are you drinking, Becca?
I totally forgot to pick up festive liquor, so I have a lemon Truly and a grapefruit Truly, and that's what we're drinking tonight. What about you, Sean?
Well, I'm not going to be drinking it for much longer because I have been drinking for the full hour we have been working up to recording this episode. So I don't have a name for this. You can come up with names. I have a name that is not suitable for children that I will not be uttering here, so I will just leave that unsaid. But yeah, so I have made an eggnog cocktail to go with the holidays. It has eggnog, vanilla vodka, peppermint schnapps, and then some spices. I've got allspice, ginger, nutmeg, cinnamon, and cloves in this sucker.
Very fancy.
It's really good. I'm just telling you. It's dangerous, though, because it doesn't taste like alcohol. And I can tell you right now, there was a lot in there when I poured it.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, what about you, Alex? What are you drinking?
So, in the festive spirit of this train wreck, I'm drinking an eggnog with a healthy amount of rum in it. And
Nice.
I'm doing it out of my you can't tell, but it's one of my Star Trek wine glasses, so it's very classy. And
Super.
then, for when I run out of eggnog, I've got a Dunkel beer from Prost Brewing Company. German-style dark lager.
That's awesome. That sounds delicious.
It is. I mean, the beer will be delicious when I get to it, but the eggnog is currently quite delicious because we got it from our local dairy that delivers.
Ooh, nice.
I have a milkman now. I've arrived. So, now for the main event.
Yeah.
The Family Man.
I am going to summarize this because I don't trust either of
thank
you.
Yeah,
God.
you don't want me to summarize it because you're not going to like what I have to say.
Mine would just be the most boring summary ever.
The Family Man is a 2000 American romantic fantasy comedy drama because they had to go for all of the different genres you could go for Christmas. It is a film that is about Jack primarily and Kate secondarily, who are shown at the beginning as being a couple in a relationship. Jack is about to take a prestigious internship in London. Kate tells him, "No, please don't go. Oh my God, we're not going to be together anymore." They don't say for some reason long distance relationships suck. That's just, I guess, implied. Anyway, he goes. They end up not being together. He becomes like a very rich banker dude who makes everybody work on Christmas. And then, lo and behold, while he's seeking eggnog one day, he runs into Don Cheadle, who is sticking up a convenience store, over a lottery ticket, but it turns out that's not really his deal. He's just, out looking for people being honest, and he may or may not be an angel. And the next day, after Jack convinces him not to, I guess, shoot people, he ends up getting put in what's called a glimpse, in which he is placed in a different version of his life in which he did not stay in London, but in fact did marry Kate, and they have a life together. And the movie is essentially about Jack learning some sort of lesson, which we may have to discuss about what exactly the lesson is that he was supposed to learn, which then will trigger the angel coming back and sending him back. And like, it's basically like holiday cheer. There's like a fun, like big tire sales place and, you know, lots of family drama and an adorable, precocious child. You know, all the holiday fixins.
Yeah. And apparently it is supposedly in some way adapted from It's a Wonderful Life.
Well, if so, okay.
That's why there's like the bicycle bell and shit. Like, I don't know. I read that and I was like,
Sure. Nothing says Christmas like Nick Cage playing a tire salesman.
It's true. It's one of the classics.
You know.
We know that in the classic Christian Christmas story, the little infant Jesus was visited by 3 tire salesmen.
I mean, you may not know the little drummer boy. His drum's made from a tire.
There we go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You didn't know that.
We're an educational podcast.
Yeah, we're an educational podcast. 90% of the toys on the island of Misfit Toys are actually, in fact, made of rubber from tires. I mean, this is why you gotta listen to your elders sometimes, because we know stuff.
Yeah, it's it's not really the island of Misfit Toys, it's the island of used rubbers.
That is what she said.
Yep.
The island of used rubbers.
Nice.
Thank you for that image that I did not need.
You're welcome, citizen. You're welcome.
Definitely changes the context of that.
It's quite evocative.
Because that whole movie ends with Rudolph helping all the misfit toys get to children. So it's just a movie about returning used rubbers. It's awful. You've ruined the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Alex.
You're also welcome, citizen. I'm here to spread holiday cheer. Ho, ho, ho.
I'll never be able to watch that movie again. My mother loves that movie. I have to sit next to her in 2 weeks and watch that.
If you tell me exactly when you'll be watching it, I'll set myself a calendar reminder so that I can send you a message on Discord.
You would too. That's the worst part.
Oh, there's gonna be some memes out of this one, I think.
I think you found the tagline for the tweet.
All right, well,
Pulling it together.
let's get on to our likes and dislikes. Let's actually make this a whole thing, because I think I summarized effectively enough.
No, that was...
Yes, that
there's
was a good
not
one.
a whole lot to this movie, honestly.
No, it's pretty
No.
straightforward. Like, the mystery that is in it is really not a mystery. I mean, it's like a very bog standard Christmas movie.
Yeah, I hated
Yeah. Yep.
Well, we'll get into that.
it. It filled me with deep loathing.
well, before we get to your loathing, I guess we should get to our likes.
Yeah.
And so,
Mhm.
Alex, I will give it to you first, since you have volunteered yourself by offering your opinion about this movie. What is one thing you like from this movie?
Okay, the little girl was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I normally am not, like, big into, like, little twee kids in movies. I'm a Grinch and I hate fun. But she was wonderful. And there's this beautiful scene where, like, because, it's kind of like a Freaky Friday body switch sort of comedy situation where, of course, like, there's one person that appears to be having a psychotic break. In this case, Nicolas Cage, who is very good at having a psychotic break on film. And no one fucking notices or they're willing to sort of like gloss over it or be like, well, you're acting sort of weird, but it must be because you're under stress or whatever. But in this movie, the one person who is like, there is something wrong, and I fucking know there's something wrong, is the little girl who has this amazing conversation with him when he's like doing the comedy, I've never changed a baby's diaper and now I'm going to attempt to change a baby's diaper in a super disgusting bit, where she's just kind of like, you're not my dad, are you? And he actually is honest with her and he's like, no. And she's just kind of like, well, you're not going to hurt me and my brother, right? And he's like, no. And she's like, okay, well, welcome to Earth, because she's assumed he's an alien.
They did a good job, she says.
Yeah, and I mean, and the one thing, like, I also really loved in that scene is she was like, do you know where my dad is? And he was like, no, but I know wherever he is, he loves you. Like, the little girl is amazing, but there's also, like, the thing about the Nick Cage character where, yes, you know, he's, like, in some high-powered Wall Street law firm where everyone's coming in and working on Christmas because whatever. And there's, like, the one guy who's like, because, I mean, it's fucking Wall Street and mergers, who cares? But he's actually, like, for a rich, horrible Wall Street person, he's actually a pretty nice guy.
That was the thing that really stood out to me, that at the beginning, you know, all of these films, like these kind of Christmas movies where someone like learns a lesson on Christmas, you know, they kind of follow a formula, right? Like, you know, a guy is like not really a good guy. He's doing kind of bad things. He may not be like a mass murderer, but he's just kind of like a dude you really don't want to invite over for Christmas.
Yeah, he's kind of an asshole or whatever.
Yeah, he's an asshole. But like when you look at this, it's like, is he an asshole? A little bit, but he's not as extreme as some other assholes that we would expect to have a redemption arc. Like when we just watched the Muppet Christmas Carol, and like Scrooge is a piece of shit. He's a bad man. But Nick Cage, by comparison, is in this playing Jack is like, he's not a bad man. He's just chosen a career that kind of is like an awful career.
Like, it's a douche career, and he's sort of like a rich guy, so of course he's out of touch and kind of douchey on that grounds. But like, I mean, you know, for a minute when it was like, oh, he's this high-powered Wall Street guy, and these like, you know, he has the lady that he sleeps with randomly at the very beginning of the movie, I was like, oh, maybe they're gonna kind of go for like the, you know, like the Scrooged thing. But like in like the Scrooge, like the Bill Murray movie, like that character's a giant piece of shit. Like, he is such a dick, and you're like, oh yeah, totally. And in this, you're just like, yeah, you're just kind of like a Wall Street workaholic who has a lot of money so that you don't understand what people are really going through. But then again, when you saw something like people were in danger and maybe going to get hurt, you were like, I'm going to intervene and try to talk someone down. And then later, you know, he's like walking away from the place with the guy, with Don Cheadle, and he's like, trying to help him in a really clumsy, incredibly rich white dude way, but it's still, you're like, God, you're out of touch and this is super cringy, but I can also tell that your heart is kind of in the right place.
You're trying.
Yeah, like, I love that bit, right? Like, afterwards, when he walks out, like, why would you walk out? The guy just pointed a gun at you.
Yeah, I was like, he's gonna fucking murder you and take your wallet, like...
It's so weird, but he's like, oh, maybe I can, like, talk to him, like, you don't really need the gun, and, like, maybe there's programs out there for you, right? Like, there's gotta be things you can do, and I'm not saying he's, like, doing this whole bit about hard work and all this stuff, and it's sort of like this weird situation of, like, yeah, he is, as you say, being awkward, and, like, it's not gonna work. You can tell it's not gonna work, but at the same time, it's like, but there's no reason for him to do, most people wouldn't do this.
Yeah.
Any economic range, like, most people would be like, call the cops, like, we're, like, you pointed a gun, like, the conversation's over, which is one of the things I thought stood out to me was watching this film in the context of 2021 and our perceptions of these things, because in this movie in 2000, like, I don't think the rhetoric about how much we hate really rich people, like, had got to the point it is now, and so this movie doesn't need to, like, engage with that in any way. It's just sort of like, no, a rich person can be a good dude who just maybe has kind of gotten skewed in some ways. And so, like, he's got to learn an ultimate lesson about love and family or whatever. But it is really weird because you're sitting here going, but that's not what rich people are really like. Like,
yeah.
This is a fantasy.
Unrealistic.
Little bit.
I don't know, like, I honestly do think there are probably some, like, rich people who are kind of, like, just out of touch. They should still be eaten. But, like...
Yum yum.
With some yum yum sauce.
I think it just kind of stood out to me because I also feel like, you know, you would think, like, if this movie was made today, I would expect it, like, oh, he's gonna, like, leave the place with the guy, and then they're gonna, you know, he's gonna try to, like, tackle him, or, you know, whatever, and instead he's just like, I'm gonna try to talk to you, and be, you know, engage in, like, some soft people skills, instead of being, like, super masculine. So, like, that, I was kind of like, I actually really like this guy, and I don't think he needs to change that much.
No, it's like the lesson isn't that he needs to change as a person all that much. It's more that he needs to think about what's the life he wants to have, because ultimately he's alone. Right? He lives a lonely existence where all he does is he makes money and he works all the time.
He just makes money and has sex with beautiful women and hangs out and drinks delicious scotch and is nice to everybody.
Yeah.
It sounds awful and unfulfilling.
I mean, the being nice to everybody, yeah, that sounds fucking awful, I gotta
Well,
say.
look, it's pretty
Everything
bad.
else, I'll take
Pretty
it.
bad. I think what the film's trying to say with the opening scene is that Nick Cage has a choice here, and he made a choice that led him down one path, but he doesn't know what that other path offered. Because he basically had those two options on the table, and he chose this option. And so this glimpse is like, because there's that moment, right, where he says to John Titor, like, I have everything I want. But we actually should be a little bit suspicious of that, because there was a moment in which he did actually want something different than this. So can you say that you don't want those things if you've never experienced them, as I think what the movie's doing? It's doing it somewhat ham-fistedly, and is doing it in a Christmassy way, which is
Just vomitous.
he's gonna learn the lesson, like, oh, I really wanted to have family all along. And it's like, instead of like the other lesson could be like, no, I'm good. Like, the kids are cute, but I'll just be like the cool uncle and I'm good.
Just, I make good money, I'll keep good money.
Yeah, we'll get to that when we talk about the dislikes.
I can be patient.
The little girl was super cool.
She is pretty adorbs. I did also like little heartstrings got pulled when like he's playing with her in the snow and he just hugs her and tells her he loves her. I was like, oh, that's pretty sweet. Alex is shaking their head right now. Not happy about that, huh?
I was just like, I don't feel like being emotionally manipulated in a really clumsy way by this movie.
It's a Christmas movie. The emotional manipulation is baked right in, just like vanilla in a cookie.
That's true, Becca.
I just that fucking scene when he's like trying to say, hey, I could have this job in New York and have like a satisfying career instead of being a retail tire salesman, and then the wife pulls out like the super emotional manipulation and is like, well, fine, I'll just take the kids out of the schools that they love and we'll give up everything and move to New York, which is a place that's terrible. And I was like, just let him fucking commute, bitch.
Okay. Now, this is weird, because I have to defend somebody now that doesn't exist. So, the thing with the commute, I totally get, because it's doing this thing that you see a lot in both wider US culture, but even in film, which is like the dad who's never home, he's never around his kids, he's not really involved, he's distant. And she's talking about, 3 hours of a commute for a job in a field that already we know earlier in the movie is going to require a lot of time from him. And so I get perfectly the argument she's making of like, when are you going to be with your kids? I mean, you signed up to be a dad. This is kind of like, this isn't a gig that you should get out of. And I get it, because coming from a Navy family where my father like would disappear for long periods of time until he literally just all up and disappeared totally, for other reasons than to do with the Navy. But, like, I kind of get that, because, when you have two parents, whatever gender they are, like, having those two parents there is actually really important, because you shouldn't have just one input if you have the two available. So I get what she's doing, but she also does this thing that I really appreciated, which is she's like, I choose us, and so if this is the thing that you need to do, if this is like desperately what you need, I'm 100% there for you, and I'm gonna do it. And yes, it's going to take a lot of sacrifices, but like, that's also set up earlier in the movie as a thing that they have done, which has made lots of sacrifices to get the life that they have now. And so she's saying, more sacrifices, if that's what you need to do to find your happiness, I will support it. Which is really sweet, also super heteronormative, which I'm sure is going to come up at some point this fucking podcast.
and also came with a giant, like, the giant wad of emotional blackmail.
It's good blackmail, though. It works.
Depends on your definition of works.
Well, I mean, it worked in the sense that it got him to give up on the job that he actually wanted to have and go back to being a tire salesman.
Is that the thing that makes him give it up, though? Or is it the kids?
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's her being like, you can go do this, but then, you will make your children fucking miserable, basically, which is horseshit, but anyway.
They probably would be miserable.
But also, none of it mattered.
I know, because it's not real. Yeah.
Because it's not real.
Yeah, it's not real. And I'm just gonna say, like, the little girl might be like, I'm sad because we moved and now I have to find a new friends group and da-da-da. The baby's a fucking baby, Sean.
It's an infant. I think it'll be fine.
I don't know. Like, that's a lot of trauma for a baby. Like, it goes from, like, a regular, like,
Moving.
baby daycare thing to, like, some bougie shit where they're, like, trying to feed it caviar. Like, that's traumatic.
Okay.
I really don't think it's recommended to feed fish eggs to infants, no matter how rich you are.
I wouldn't know. I don't have one because I don't understand the true meaning of happiness.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not
Sure it
saying
is,
that's
yeah,
the true meaning
unfortunately.
of happiness. I think either one of these lives could be.
No,
but
Sean, the movie is saying that's the true meaning of happiness, but we're not to
for
dislike
him,
yet.
not for everybody.
We're not there yet.
We're
We're
gonna
not
talk
there
about
yet.
these dislikes,
All right.
fucker.
Well, let's get to Becca. What is your like, Becca?
I got a real short one for you. But I just Don Cheadle and the fact that he's an angel. You know, he's a cool dude. It was nice to see his face.
I was initially like a little ooh when it's, you know, he's kind of like comes in to you know, do the thing in the bodega, and it's very like, and I was like, ooh.
It's a very definite, like, stereotype black man holding up a corner
But then
store.
it like gets turned around like instantly.
But he's an angel. Like, he literally is a being with, like, nigh infinite power. And he chooses to appear as a black man. It's pretty neat. And the fact that that's the one redeeming point of the movie for me should say something.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it is simple, but Don
Told you it was
Cheadle,
simple.
you know, an argument could be made that we need more of him in the movie, but, you know,
Yes.
it would be nice to have a little more, a little less
Yeah.
crypticness would have been, I think, appropriate, but especially at the end. Like, bro, you could be, like, a little, like, give him
Yeah.
something now. Like,
You could elaborate,
Just
you
a
know.
like, you did the thing where you're like, oh, sure, we'll get out and take a walk, and then you, like, kicked him out the car and then drove off. Like, you did that bit once.
That was amazing. Like I
Like-
knew it was coming. I was
So good.
It was very good.
Out of my car.
I really do enjoy it. But yeah, I mean, he is really good in the very short amount of runtime he's got. You know, there's really no complaints about Don Cheadle. Like, he's just kind of,
because he's Don
yeah,
Cheadle.
he's Don Cheadle. I mean, like, what's the worst thing you can say about a Don Cheadle? He once did a bad British accent in the Ocean's movies. That's about it.
We don't speak of that.
We don't need to think about.
All right, fair enough, Becca. All right. Well, I guess I will go then, since yours was so simple. I think it's on record that I love this movie. So when it got picked,
I'm sorry
I was
that you're
like,
objectively
oh,
wrong.
I knew it was likely other people weren't gonna like it all that much, but for reasons that are different from my own. There's a lot of things I really enjoy about this movie. I do enjoy its message, but I will just say that I was very much just becoming on 18, and Téa Leoni in this, like, sweet mother of God. I had such a crush when I was a youngin'. Still do. I will just say Téa Leoni is amazing in this.
Is this the origin of MILF?
I don't know. No, because I think 1999 is American Pie, and so MILF comes out in 1999. Yeah. For those that don't know, I know that not everybody is as cultured as us, which MILF stands for Mom I'd Like to Fuck, which is a bourgeois term referring to one's attraction to friends' mothers.
Not to be confused with the new phenomenon of the DILF currently represented by Oscar Isaac in Dune, which is the dad I'd like to
Correct.
fuck.
Yeah, that is a more new incarnation. You could argue it's possibly derivative of the original MILF
Oh,
culture, which was
for
very
sure.
much developed in the late 90s, in response to the eventual collapse of the Clinton administration or the rise of the Bush administration. But there's really not a lot you can do about those kinds of things. You're just going to have to deal with the history of reality.
Hey, Sean, has Urban Dictionary offered you that narrating gig yet? 'Cause,
No,
like,
but they should.
They should. I would listen to that.
Okay, we should
Yeah.
get back on task, though.
Anyway, yeah, so overall, I just really enjoyed Téa Leoni in this movie. She's just really great. I don't know what else to say. Like, every time everyone's like, oh, like, Kate's so great. And I'm like, yes, that is correct. Kate is, in fact, the best member of that family. Even with her emotional blackmail, I don't care.
Well, what's a marriage without emotional blackmail, apparently?
That is true.
A lot healthier.
You're right. You should say it.
Shots fired.
Shots fired.
Okay, let's get to dislikes, which I'm sure is going to be a joy for me. Alex, what is your one and only dislike?
So, I hated this movie.
No!
I
Yay!
absolutely fucking loathed this movie. And it wasn't even
As
for the
you
amount of
should.
cringe in it, even though I have like a very bad reaction to cringe where watching like secondhand embarrassment just makes me want to like roll up like a pill bug and never emerge. But no, I hated this movie for very different reasons. And it's because this movie is sort of the apotheosis of the white heteronormative suburban Christian blah, all of that Christmas movie. And so in a way, my hatred of this film is actually not the film's fault, because this is probably one of the best made torture cinema movies we have ever watched. The reason I hate it is because for my entire life, which has now stretched to 41 years, every fucking movie that has any kind of dialogue or thematic element in it about the tension between personal life and career always goes like this. You have a career and you're super driven, but don't you wish that you'd gone and lived in the suburbs with a wife to fuck and 2.4 children of different cisgenders, and you're just not fulfilled if you don't have that, so you should give up the career. Now, this movie had an interesting element in that it was a cis man who gave that up for once. Because it's almost always the woman in these that's like, I have a high-powered career, but I really just wish I'd had babies. But this movie, like this entire movie, is the summation of every smug person who has ever looked at me and said, well, I know you don't want kids, but you're gonna change your mind. Guess what, fuckers? I didn't, and I never will, and I don't have a uterus anymore, so eat my ass. Anyway, so that's why I hate this movie, because it is an entire, like, summation of the cultural ideal that keeps getting pushed for this nuclear family. And the thing is, I understand that there are people who find it very heartwarming, and I get it. Because if you can emotionally connect with the urges that these people have, where you're like a family life and kids, and I like kids, and I'd like to have a baby, or I'd like to have, like a nuclear family or whatever, then that is incredibly heartwarming. But for those of us who are not in that position and have never been in that position, and in fact have often felt oppressed by that position because of the expectation it culturally places upon us. Let me tell you about growing up as someone who was perceived to be female, who was assigned female at birth. It's incredibly grating, because all you fucking want to see for once in your life is someone to be like, I tried it and that was okay, but no thanks. And for the movie to be like, hey, that's cool. Never fucking happens. So all of the hostility that I feel towards this movie is just basically decades of having that flogged at me. And I hate it. And that's my rant.
Absolutely. 110%.
I have one thing that I need to say to everything that you said. Because earlier you said 2.4 kids.
Whatever the average
It's gone
is.
down.
I didn't look it up lately.
Because 2.4 kids means 6 children. 2 male, 4 female.
No.
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 What?
Average is the average. It has
Oh,
a decimal
you meant-
because it's
okay.
an average.
Yeah.
Got
No,
it.
it is
Sorry.
literally
So-
2.
We're having a math problem.
No. Yeah, so this is because one of the
Oh, it's
communities I'm
now.
part of, which is the reptile community, when we refer to the offspring of our reptiles, you use a number to represent the different well, and obviously
Well, I mean, if they were lizard
in
people,
reptiles
which,
there's really only 2 options.
unfortunately,
but
I can't
yeah.
really make a lizard person joke because that's actually a really anti-Semitic trope, but I wish I could at this moment.
Right, thanks David Icke.
Ugh! Why does he destroy everything that's good?
So I get where you're coming from in terms of your major concern with this movie, your major criticism, because I get that, right? That I'm coming back to this movie having seen it. I don't know. I've probably seen this movie like 20 times because it just would play all the time, and like before Netflix, just whatever was fucking on Stars you watched. So
And I mean, as Christmas movies go, there are way worse Christmas movies.
oh yeah, there's like some super massively
Like,
offensive
there's
Christmas
some fun
movies.
shit in this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, but I think one of the things that stands out to me is actually about my dislike about this movie, which is that what you're describing is actually more egregious when you realize the amount of time that exists between the glimpse that he gets, the blip that he receives, and the actual reality he exists in. Because this isn't him getting on the airplane and then having the angel visit him or whatever when he's in London, and then being like, oh, you're getting a glimpse, sucker. And then he, takes him back, and then, he realizes, oh, and now I'm going to go back. Because there's a moment in the movie, right, when he finds the plane ticket and he realizes the version of himself in the glimpse has returned from London.
Yeah.
Couldn't stand being away. He's come back. He's like, I can't do, I gotta be with the woman I love, which mad respect, bro. But the problem is that the actual narrative from the reality he comes from, he's been gone for like 13 years.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the movie, when we get the like romantic redemption, it lands very differently. I'm actually surprised she actually went to have coffee with him.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit weird that a dude's been hanging on to this for she doesn't know that he's not actually been hanging on to this in an overt sense. But it's weird for a dude to be hanging on to this kind of feeling about somebody for 13 years. It would make more sense if the glimpse occurred after his arrival in London, and then he decides, I am returning immediately.
Yeah.
Because I actually really want this life with this woman that I actually love, and this is a mistake. But that's not the narrative we're given. We're given this narrative of like, oh, like this whole life you've led is terrible and awful. His life's actually not that bad. It's kind of fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the life I want, but maybe that's the life he wants, and that's fine.
Yeah, that was the thing that bothered, and it does attach to mine, where I'm just like, it's cool if he's always felt unfulfilled and he's like, something's missing, but he doesn't act like that in the movie.
Right.
Yeah, his life is fine.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's a workaholic, but, he seems friendly enough. He seems to enjoy doing what he's doing.
He's not a monster.
And then he gets this he's not a monster. And then he gets this random glimpse and is just like, oh no, all of the stuff that I've worked for, whatever. Let me just go check out this chick that I was banging 13 years ago and see what she's up to.
That's weird.
When she was just calling me to give me back some stuff because she's moving to Paris, which, like, why are they more satisfied with the guy when they could be moving their career further forward?
Okay, when you put it in that light, that's actually also comes back to, like, what I hated about where I was like, well, it was cool that for once, at least, I guess the person who's giving up their career is the man.
But he still makes her give up her career!
Yeah, but if we're to believe that they're going to be, like, happy together, blah, 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 presumably then the next movie is her giving up her career of moving to Paris and being a lawyer.
Yeah, the next movie is The Family Woman.
Yeah. So it's still going right back to that heart of the,
I hate it.
perfect nuclear family where the woman gives up her dreams to be a stay-at-home mom because the dude has the high-paying career. Fuck that noise.
It's annoying because that time difference is what really does the movement there to make this not tenable.
And, like, I think they were doing it because they wanted that impact of, even 13 years later, he still loves this woman. He would give up his whatever. He would give up his life now just so he could have children with her, which, like, ew, but sure. But yeah, it's like, you went for that impact, and instead you just made it very lackluster.
Yeah, it doesn't land, and I get why they're trying to do it, because they want that time to be a thing that makes it like, oh, this is a big change, it's such a big deal, but it doesn't work I don't like the ending, I would just say, like, this is because of this time difference. It just doesn't work.
And, like, she's in the airport. She is in the airport about to go to Paris. I'm sorry. She's not missing that flight for a man
13
who she
years
broke
ago, or
up
however
with.
many years
Yeah,
it was.
13 years ago. You're getting on that
That's
flight.
what I don't get, is what's the impetus? Because before, they were in a relationship when she's asking him not to leave. And it's clear he loves her. She loves him. She's really, like, very distraught. And he's trying to reassure her, and he goes, and then it doesn't work out. But they're not together anymore. Right? It's been 13 years. Most people who are adjusted have moved on.
I guess the other thing that is really weird is I'm trying to think about, like, the person I am now versus the person I was 13 fucking years ago.
Yeah.
Very different values, sexuality.
So it's like if someone showed up and was like, oh, I've loved you for the last 13 years, I'd be like, you don't even fucking know me, man.
Yeah, like, I'm a completely different person. You met me 13 years ago. Sure, we were in, maybe a long relationship, but that was 13 years ago. I've definitely changed. And if I haven't changed, something is wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair to the movie, we're doing a lot of work for the movie of assuming the ending that hasn't actually been given to us, because the actual ending we get is he just convinces her to go for coffee, which also is unrealistic.
Yeah,
she still would go to Paris.
But it's a Christmas movie, and so you can argue that the implication that she even sat down to talk with him is an acceptance of them.
Something. Yeah.
Because it's a Christmas movie. If it was just a regular drom-com, yeah, maybe that ending would be a little more uncertain. But because it's a Christmas movie, and Christmas movies will always end with a happy ending, it can be even more heavily assumed that, yes, she would accept, a return to whatever relationship and give up Paris.
Yeah, and a lot of that weight is because a lot of Christmas movies actually go to that next level and show us that ending.
I mean, it's such a classic thing.
It's a classic trope, yeah.
Best case scenario, he goes to Paris with her.
Like, why doesn't he just go to Paris? Why doesn't he be like, you know what, I'm buying a ticket too? This is pre-9/11.
Yeah,
so
that would be
he
perfect.
has so much money.
That would be amazing. That would that would actually fix that specific issue.
Like, why doesn't he do the thing where he's like, okay, I know you really need to get on this Paris flight, and this is a big deal, and I saw you earlier, you had to get a different flight this day. It's a whole big to-do. You know what? How about this? Why don't we get coffee in Paris?
Yeah.
I'll be there. I'll get on the
that
next
would be
flight
better.
over, and I'll do it. Like a kind of. I mean, they have passed, so it's not super creepy to be like let's have coffee in Paris.
It's less creepy.
It's less creepy because there's a past there, and that could be somewhat of a romantic gesture. And then you show them, and then we fill in lots of blanks, and they get back together, and somehow in the 13 years they have more babies. Whatever.
But instead, they just get coffee in New York.
Yeah, well, because I really feel like it does symbolize now the woman is giving up her dreams to stay with me. And you're like, fuck off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which
I've
pisses
seen this
me
movie
off.
too many times.
The thing that they're trying to do is, I like it because this is a decision that I'm making, and so there's obviously personal value. Like, my girlfriend has a kid,
because you can connect with it in a way that Becca and I just
right.
don't.
And so I get it totally, right, that this is very much pushing on my particular heartstrings because I want kids and all these kinds of things. And so the life they're leading actually, I don't necessarily want to work in a tire store. That's not necessarily my dream. Even dream number 500, it's pretty far below that even, but at the same time, the life that is shown here is a life that I would like. It's very much that kind of, American dream life. You're not filthy rich, but you live in a, you've got somebody who's your partner, and you're madly in love, and you're finding ways to make it work after 13 years, and you got two adorable kids. Well, one of them's adorable. The other one I'm still iffy on, but whatever.
It's still baking.
Yeah.
Why did
it's
I
not
say
really
that? baking.
I guess it's still being molded after having left the oven. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Anyway.
and so I mean it does feel like Sean, the movie is kind of aimed directly at you.
It
where
is.
It's just
Yeah.
I just would like someday for a movie to be aimed at me.
I agree.
Absolutely. But this did come out in 2000.
Yeah, I will say, for all the movie is aggressively heteronormative, I didn't feel like it was overtly homophobic, other than the fact that queer people don't exist, which is just that was the time.
Why isn't
whatever.
Jeremy Piven, why isn't he just the gay neighbor? That's the friend Arnie, who keeps trying to give him advice.
For just a minute,
yeah.
Karina, she watched part of the movie with me. She got super excited because when he was talking to Nick Cage, and he was like, when I almost had the affair with Arnie Jr.'s speech therapist. And she was like, wait, did he just say he almost had an affair with a man? And I was like, no. Because she had heard it as Arnie Jr.'s speech therapist.
Right.
And I was like, no, Arnie Jr. is his son. The speech therapist is probably a woman, but good attempt. I would...
So close.
I would have loved it if it had been true. I wish it had been.
I mean, this... it's such an inconsequential character that, Will and Grace is out at this point. Just have him be gay. You never see his wife. So he can just be in a gay partnership and just be fucking done with it.
And I mean, I think it would be amazing to have a gay character who was like that, New Jersey suburban in a bowling league. Because Hollywood normally doesn't let us be that schlubby.
Yeah, that's true. I agree completely that, this clearly is aimed at me. And I think it's some hot bullshit that we just don't have more of what you might call classics, with emphasis on the quotation marks I'm doing right now, that are ones that are also open to people of different lifestyle choices. Because the whole, white picket fence, family version of American living isn't a thing that everybody wants. And that's also okay. You don't have to have children or even be married or be hetero married. Like, you don't need to have any of those things to have a fulfilling life. I think you could do this movie today and make that adjustment of saying, like, why didn't we do like the Family Man, but it's like a different version where like he decides that like these kids are adorable, but I just want to be the cool uncle. I don't really want to be like,
That'd be
this is not the
amazing.
life. The life I want is the one that has the Ferrari because I really like cars. Just have that life.
And then he could just like parachute in and be like, hey, I'm going to be your cool rich uncle who's going to fund your college, you know, do your college fund and all that because, you know, people who don't have kids, we have money. So we should give it to people who do have kids who don't have money because they have kids. Like,
Yeah.
like that. I'm totally in with that sort of communal thing. I'm just like,
I don't have kids and I don't have money.
well, you're in college. That's, you know.
I'm not in
Oh,
college.
well, you
You
work for
were-
a college.
you were
That's
in
why you don't-
college.
I work for a college.
But the question, well, yeah, okay, so you don't have kids and you don't have money.
But yeah,
That is the reality also for many people. But it is like it's not like I am hostile to the concept of having like, you know, like people allowed to have happy family movies because if nothing else, like I do think it's great that there are some people who super want to have kids and those people should have kids and it's adorable and then I can like
Yeah.
go play with the kids and then I can be like, "Oh, it's weird and sticky. Have it back."
oh, I accidentally fed it 3 donuts, but I've got to go.
Oh, no,
so
no.
have fun.
Oh my god. But yes, so your dislike is very understandable. Sorry, I'm trying
Yeah,
to like
yeah,
reel this
absolutely.
back in. Cause yeah, like the time difference just fucks everything up. But I like,
It makes everything you're saying worse.
and I feel like I understand kind of why they put in there because if you're going from like when he has a sweet internship with whatever with Barclays, and then you want him to be like a super high powered exec, there needs to be some time elapsed,
Yeah.
but it doesn't work.
It didn't need to be 13 years.
Oh,
it
it's a-
could have been like 3.
Yeah, a little less.
If he was that fucking brilliant, yeah.
A year, like you could still be pining after someone after a year. It's maybe a little bit not quite acceptable, but it's not like you're a big loser who needs super hardcore therapy. Like,
Well, and it's like the movie is just it's doing a lot of telling and not enough show because it's basically being like, no, he totally is still stuck on this woman, and you're like, in what fucking universe? There's
nothing there.
Oh, he's super lonely. Literally the only part you get an indication of that is at the end when he's like, I'm gonna be skiing alone, and you're like,
Like before his glimpse, like when he gets, you know, that, you know, missed call from Kate Reynolds. Like he's just like, "Oh, that's she was my old girlfriend." Like there's no real emotion behind it. It's just like, "Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
My ex called me."
And even his response, right?
And then he just moves on.
Well, because his assistant tries to call. And he's like,
Yeah.
no, because he's worried about how it might be perceived that he might be pining after her or whatever.
Yeah.
Which, ironically, at the end, he does. So,
apparently is.
It's just very strange to me. But like it would have been a much more streamlined movie if he had done the internship, completed the internship. They broke up while he was at the internship, and he'd worked like a month at this exec job and realized that he hated it,
Yeah.
but didn't know what to do because she'd broken up with him.
like, he's set in his life. He's made this choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has made this choice. He's here. He's signed this contract to, you know, work this exec job. And he's like, it's not what he thought it was. And then he gets that moment with Don Cheadle where he's still like a younger man who's, because to me it does just feel very weird that this like high powered exec helps out a guy who holds up a corner store. It would be much more realistic if somebody just out of a probably exploitive internship did that, who's still trying to figure out their own life.
Right.
But instead, it's like somebody who's very settled in their life who then throws it all away. And it's very strange to me.
Yeah. I mean, because I think we're supposed to think that Nick Cage is like, he has made the wrong sacrifices and it's made him a worse person. But the person we're presented
he's fine.
isn't a worse person. He's flawed, but he's human. He's just a rich guy.
Yeah. He says Merry Christmas to the doorman. Like,
He's the McAllisters.
he seems
like-
nice.
He's just inexplicably rich. Like,
Yeah. It doesn't feel like any of the choices are earned.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
is that your dislike, Becca? Did we get to your dislike?
No. Well, that was on my list.
Okay.
But I've got something much more picky.
Oh, go for it.
Justice for Lucy, who is their Mastiff dog in The Glimpse.
What do you mean justice?
What happened to the dog? Where's the dog? I know it's the glimpse. I know it didn't actually exist, but like somewhere in that universe there's a dog that they didn't adopt because they didn't stay together. Where's the dog? Justice for Lucy. Alex is dying. I just want to comment that for our listeners. Alex is dying.
What a nitpick.
You're welcome.
That is amazing. I mean,
Justice
it's also
for Lucy.
It's just so like you have a suburban life with 2 kids and a dog.
And a
it's just
dog.
like, oh
Where's the
God.
dog?
Where's the dog? That is a great question. Does he mention the dog in the final speech?
Not at all.
Oh God,
He just mentions the kids.
But like, that's a big deal.
Where's the dog?
Because there's a moment when he's complaining to her about the life, right? Because he wants to buy this $2,400 suit or whatever.
Oh, the amazing Nick Cage.
Yeah,
rant.
the amazing Nick Cage rant.
Yeah.
Right, which makes sense from a guy
monologue.
who this isn't his life, and he's used to wearing $2,400. Which whatever, fuck off, dude. I'm $350 at fucking J.C. Penney. As is like the extent of the amount I'll spend on a fucking suit. Jesus,
Right.
like $2,400. Like that shit better wipe my ass. Jesus, it like has to come up with like a little fucking thing that puts out like a little bit like an aperitif or whatever, like a little cup. Just bloop. It better have like fucking robotic arms for $2,400. But anyway, so he gives that speech, right? And he talks about like waking up with dog slobber all over his face. But then like he has a moment with the dog with the snow, right? Where he takes the dog out walking in the snow, and that's like an It's a Wonderful Life, whatever.
It's very pretty, adorable.
It's pretty.
Where's the dog?
But like, yeah, he doesn't mention the dog again. He's the one walking this fucking dog all the time.
Dogs are really important, yo.
I'm so confused.
Where's the dog?
This dog has been adopted by someone else or has been put to sleep.
Are you sure? Yeah.
Well, it's a Mastiff, so I wonder... was it actually a Mastiff, Becca?
It was a Mastiff
Oh,
mix.
Mastiff mix.
I looked it up.
That would get adopted, right?
But yeah, like, that dog, there were so many points about it during the glimpse.
Yeah.
And you don't look for the dog. Like, this is a family movie, and you don't resolve the dog.
Like, but how would you find that dog?
I mean, at that point, it's been 13 years. The dog's fucking dead.
Yeah, the dog's
No,
fucking
so
dead. It's been 13 years.
So in his blip, right, or glimpse, we're calling it a blip because fuck
Yeah.
it, the MCU is going to have an influence here. In his blip, that's 13 years in the future. And so they've had that dog at least
5
depending when they got it, right? The dog is alive 13 years later. In his regular timeline, he's also 13 years after him coming back from London or whatever. And so presumably that dog is possibly alive.
Presumably it exists.
I'm saying possibly because a lot of things can happen to a dog. Yeah.
The dog is not
Yeah.
alive.
Alex, let me have my
No.
dream.
We will make this terrible movie realistic in some way.
I mean, statistically, there's a pretty solid chance that that dog... No, but Mastiff mix, like, I think that would be fine. Like, it's not a pit mix. If it was a pit mix, I would say dead. It's straight up dead. Sorry,
Yeah.
pit bull owners, but, like, that's
But it's
just
a
the really
Mastiff
sad,
mix.
fucked up reality of pit bulls is they have such a bad reputation.
And like, is it just like sitting in a shelter?
He's got to have been
somewhere?
adopted.
That would have been a nice post-credit scene if they adopted it. I'm just
If
saying.
there had been a post-credit scene where the dog got adopted, that would have been my secondary dislike, because that would have been fucking stupid.
I mean, it wouldn't make sense
Also,
in the timeline.
I'm a terrible person who doesn't like dogs very much because they lick things.
No, absolutely not. But like, I just got mad because it's an already all-around shitty movie. I'm sorry, Sean. And then they don't address the dog.
I mean, you could fix this. Like, there's such small things you could do because they have the dog on set. So you could just have your credits have pictures of the life that they have put together.
Or even as they're zooming out from the coffee shop photos, just have somebody walking the dog.
Oh, and the dog's fine, but it's not with them. Got it.
Because they didn't adopt it.
But
then
that's
that's
not
just
how linear
sad.
time works. The dog is dead of old age.
No, the dog isn't dead.
Alex, the dog
No,
isn't
because
dead.
it's alive 13 years later.
The dog
The
is
glimpse
alive.
takes place 13 years
No,
in his...
It can't possibly, because the whole point of the timeline of the glimpse is that he flew to the London. A month later, he came back, and then there was a short period of time during which they were married, and then they had the oops baby, and she's like maybe 7 years old, 6 years old.
But they mentioned that they've been together 13 years.
How old is
So
the
the
kid?
kid is Well, it depends when. I mean, accidents can happen anytime.
I mean, the other thing is also just they've been together 13 years. They were together for some period of time before he went to London.
Well, whatever the year is, they've been together. His glimpse is taking place in an alternate version of his present. That's what's going on. So
You know what it is? It's probably because he looks too fucking old at the beginning of the movie.
precisely. Yeah, because there's no way he's like however old. How old is he supposed to be? Like 24?
I retract my objection. It only looks like it's in the past, but if it's in the present, then the dog is not dead. You can have your dream.
Dog has to be alive, please.
The dog is potentially alive. This is a lot of work of mental gymnastics while we're all intoxicated to try to make sense of this minor fact in a movie.
Like, that dog is reasonably still alive. Unless
Still potentially alive.
something bad happened with the family that actually ended up adopting it.
Well, look, you can find out more about this. Becca has been kind enough to put together a website. If you go to justiceforlucy.com, you will be able to find out more about this dog. 4 as in the number 4, not FOR. Justiceforlucy.com. And you can find out more about how to discover what happened to this dog.
I just want to know.
So if you have any information, you can call 1-800-FIND-LUCY. It's LOOCY.
That's okay.
No, that's actually too many letters.
Yeah, that's too many.
I mean, that's a good check, but you needed to, like, shorten it instead of making it.
It's the find that doesn't work. The Lucy's fine. It's the find. Anyways, that's my dislike. They never tell you what happened to the dog.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
All right,
You're
all
welcome.
right. Well, look, we got to wrap this up.
I told you it was tiny.
Well, all right, it's time to get to our final thoughts and our grade about this movie. So, Alex, final thought and grade, go.
So, this movie made me super angry, and again, I fully acknowledge that it is not the movie's fault that I hate it. It's the entire Hollywood milieu that has put this Christmas genre of extremely white, heteronormative, nuclear family, everyone give up their career because obviously you cannot be fulfilled if you're not popping out kids, blah, that I just feel like I intensely hate, and I wouldn't hate it so much if they were like happy Christmas movies with alternative lifestyles. But even the like queer Christmas movies that have been coming out lately, which are still really cool, but are also kind of like, hey, queer people, why don't you want like a nuclear family? And I'm like, but what if no? What if I just want my cat?
But what if I just want my cat?
And my friends? Anyway, so
Fair.
That's why I hate this movie, which honestly makes it really hard for me to figure out how to grade it, because like on the scale of torture cinema, this is actually like probably the best made torture cinema movie that we've seen. That wasn't like, we've had a couple where we were like, this is not a torture cinema, we're going to discuss it like it's a, a movie, which we almost kind of did with this one.
Kinda.
So I can't like shit on it from that angle. I just really hate it, and I resent that I had to watch yet another of these fucking movies like this. And on that grounds, like, this movie actually made me angrier than Krampus the Reckoning, because Krampus the Reckoning was just bad, as opposed to the apotheosis of the heteronormative patriarchal society that we live in. So I don't know what to grade it.
I don't know, that sounds like an A- to me.
I might actually have to abstain, because I want to give it, like, on the scale of torture cinema, it does kind of deserve like an A- or a B, because it's like a functionally, technically very good movie, but I fucking hated it and made me angry, so I want to give it an F, which also wouldn't be fair, because again, it's actually not a bad movie on those grounds. So
okay, so what's your average?
Give it like a C, because like you're kind of balancing between the two, right?
It's true. Okay, since I cannot abstain courteously, I will give it a C for abstaining courteously.
Okay, I think that's fair.
Courteous, yes. Yeah, because going off of that, I would grade this. I would have said if they'd resolved what happened with the dog, it would have gotten a C+. Because they didn't resolve the dog, it gets a C-. Because yeah, it's not terrible. It's not great. It's just average. And then it loses half a point for the dog. C-.
Interesting.
I will find out what happened to this dog, Alex.
I mean, in real reality, the dog is definitely dead.
That dog is definitely dead. That dog is definitely
super
dead.
dead.
But
You need to just go, like, write an email to, like, deardoesthedogdie.com. I was shocked to discover that you did not cover this movie and tell me about the fate of the dog.
So, look, I have huge issues about the stuff that I've already talked about, like with the way the frame narrative works, but I really just love this movie. I really enjoy it.
Well, I mean, you are the movie's target audience, so it's totally fair, and I will not shit on you for your grade.
I feel very shit on right now. I'm very sensitive about it. Yeah, so I just enjoyed this movie quite a lot. I really enjoyed Nick Cage in this. Téa Leoni is amazing. Still got a little bit of a crush. Thank you, Téa Leoni. You get an A+ for being amazing in this movie. I don't know. I feel really good for most of this movie, and I just like the idea that he just discovers that there's a different life he could have led, and that he got to live his dream, which was nice.
And the ending just fails you.
Anyway, that's all I got. A-.
I gift unto you all the possible rewatches that I would have ever made are yours now.
Absolutely.
Rewatch.
Same here. Mm-hmm. They're yours.
Thank you. I appreciate
Enjoy. It adds to your total by none, but it's the thought that counts.
I mean, I could be in a coma and it could be on TV. It could happen.
I mean, if you ever go in a coma, I'm literally going to go in there and make sure that that's the only thing that plays while you're asleep. That's not true. I wouldn't do that because that's actually really mean.
Sean, like, oh, this gay person's in a coma. Let's pipe some heteronormative propaganda through the speakers.
Maybe that'll get them to wake up.
I mean, if anything's going to get you to wake up from a coma, it might be this movie.
It's gonna be heteronormative shit that you gotta shut down.
Just like this like comatose person sitting up with the scream of pure rage.
Turn it off!
Just like, wow, they never actually regained consciousness, but somehow they flung themselves from their bed and put their fists through the TV. I've never seen anything like it. Shit.
God damn. Wow.
That would be nice.
What a world.
What a world we live in. So, before we get to the final thank yous and all that stuff and all of our things, this is a reminder that barring me not finishing editing on podcasts that we recorded before December, this will be the last podcast you will hear until late January, early February, because this podcast goes on a brief hiatus so we can all take a vacation and enjoy being cold and drinking alcohol and doing things that we would normally do with our friends and family. So, with that in mind, you will not hear from us for several weeks. And we would like to say a happy holidays to everybody. Thank you for hanging about, listening to our shows, getting the laughs on, supporting us and all the things, having a good time. We hope that, all things considered, your winter break or your winter, the remainder of this winter period of December and January is safe and healthy and full of as much joy as humanly possible in a world that is quite difficult at times. But that's the message we'll send. Whatever family unit you happen to live in or non-family unit, I hope that is a joyful experience for you and that it remains so even as we continue to fight this pandemic and other kinds of stresses and struggles that people are going through. So happy holidays. Lots of love.
Give all your found family a hug and a kiss for me.
Please do.
I was going to say something really mean about you discriminating against people in the Southern Hemisphere, but that's fine.
The moment has passed.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Let me rephrase. For people living in places that are having a winter right now, I hope you have a happy... I said happy holidays. Like, it's still Christmas in Australia. It's not like they only have Christmas in July.
Yeah, they get to have like barbecues for Christmas. It's super unfair.
You were talking about it being cold.
Well, look, maybe it got cold at night.
You know what, Becca? It's always winter in his heart.
I'm so sorry for having not considered all the places of the world where it'll be hot because it's not winter there and it's summer. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
Happy holidays to you. I hope it's warm in your heart and that it's full of sweat.
Oh, God.
Everything's fine. I'm okay.
Some Christmas sweat. Some Yule sweat. Smells like evergreen.
No, but really, have a good holiday wherever you happen to be in the world.
Yes.
Please. Good God. Becca derailed my very positive message to remind me that Some people don't have winter right now. I'm so sorry, Australian listeners. I was super inconsiderate to you, but not recognizing that it's summer.
I mean, very, very hemispheric.
Hemisphere. I'll burn in hell over this tragedy.
I'm sending you to liberal hell right now. All the Twitter leftists are gonna circle you and poke you with sticks.
That's right. Yeah, it'll just be tons of messages telling me to fuck off and die because I didn't recognize Australia's warm weather during our winter.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today for Torture Cinema.
This fucking train
This
wreck.
train wreck of an episode.
It was a train wreck, and I won't apologize
No,
for
don't
it.
apologize. Anyway.
Thanks for joining us today for Torture Cinema. If you'd like to let us know what you thought about this episode, head on over to skiffyandfanty.com/listener-suggestions. Also, follow us at Skiffy and Fanty on Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe to our newsletter at skiffyandfanty.com/newsletter. Finally, if you like what we do, please support us at patreon.com/skiffyandfanty and give us some love by leaving a 5-star review on iTunes. You can find me, the person who managed to keep a straight face long enough to read this paragraph, at Katsudonbury on Twitter, at my website, katsudon.net, and at patreon.com/AlexAxe, where I talk about movies and TV and books.
And you can find me at Sean Duke on Twitter, seanduke.net, and patreon.com/thejoyfactory, and for the time being, streaming as Alphabet Streams on Twitch.
And you can find me at BeccaE96 on Twitter and as an accessibility editor and development/PR person at Strange Horizons.
All right, so...
I think it's already awkward enough. You don't have to make
No,
it.
no, I have to make it even more awkward.
I'm so sorry.
Do we just want to start talking about the dog again?
Yes, let's start talking about the dog. I want justice for Lucy, and I want it right now.
I just want to note
My
that
neighbors must hate me.
this is the first episode until this moment that I have been on with Alex that has not devolved into talking about sex toys.
You're welcome.
It's true. I mean,
I wish I'd
the
made more
problem
of an
is
effort.
it was just such an aggressively heteronormative movie. I couldn't imagine Nick Cage getting pegged. Sorry, bruh.
And on that note, awkward ending and scene.
You're welcome, citizens. And Becca and Sean especially. You're welcome.
If you want to support this show, you can go to patreon.com/skiffyandfanty or skiffyandfanty.com, our website, where you can get access to all of our fancy things. Our music comes from Holy Mole. You can support him and his work at patreon.com/holymole. Thank you for listening.